So recently in the USA, I call it the USSA. I'm not going to get into why I do that right now. There's been several mass shootings, which is nothing new. And now there's a lot of talk about gun control, this and that, and mental illness and blah, 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 whatever. But I'm here to talk about the real reason behind a lot of these mass shootings. Some people believe that it's a conspiracy theory. I don't think it's that deep. Some people want to blame video games, and even President Trump is now starting to blame video games and shit. The same exact way that people did back in '99 during the Columbine high school massacre. And a lot of people want to blame Marilyn Manson and video games and R-rated movies, which is garbage, because America is known for blaming everyone else but themselves for their own sorry ass fuck ups. All right, especially middle class suburban America, white America. All right, let's just be real, you know. And these would be the same exact people who sit up and tell black people nobody owes you anything and stop making excuses for poor people, pull yourself out by the bootstraps, blah, blah, blah. Now, I'm not saying that every mass shooting is based on white sexual insecurity, but a lot of it is. And if you don't believe me, I'll give you many examples. Now, I can't say that it was sexual insecurity that caused Columbine High School massacre. It was the guy's name Dylan Klebold, and what's the other guy's name? Eric Harris, whatever. They were just picked on, and they were always being seen as weird, and they were always bullied. That's one reason why some people snap. Now, there's a guy named Mark Ames who wrote this book called Going Postal. Pretty good book. And he basically laid it down about how the plantation just became more upscale. So you had slavery era where black people were picking cotton, but now the plantation just became more upscale. Nowadays, if you want to make a slave out of someone, you got to tell them to go to school and you better get good grades, and then you get a job and you clock in. You got to beat weather and traffic, and like baseball, 3 strikes and you out. And there's a lot of people who take a lot of verbal and mental and physical abuse on these jobs, male and female, and they expect you to just sit up and take it. All right. And when you create a system like that keeps shitting on hand-picked people who they hand-pick to be their flunkies or their lackeys, and you keep, walking all over them and treating them like peons and doormats, after a while they're gonna snap, and it creates a certain type of slave rebellion. And I think he said something along the lines about how a lot of these mass shootings are like modern day slave rebellions. And there's some merit to that, and pragmatically that makes sense. Because, I mean, even if you take a look at it from, like, okay, let's say aspect about being alpha males, the difference between an alpha male or a beta male. Beta males have no control over their lives. Alpha males do what they want. They got balls, they got agency, even if and they live for themselves, even if they're not very successful. Even if they don't have a job, even if they are in and out of jail, they go to jail for a couple days for beating somebody down or whatever, they do have more freedom. Because in order for you to build a quote-unquote civilization, you have to make slaves out of people by telling them they have to respect and obey the law and respect authority and treat authority figures better than they treat you. And that's how you make a slave nowadays. And in that book, Going Postal, he basically said that a lot of the tactics that worked during slavery, like fear and mind games when they enslave a person's brain, well, that happens today too in the workplace. There's a lot of fear mongering and guilt trips, and not to mention, of course, you have some parents out here who want to raise kids so that, get married, get a job, and this and that, and then they guilt them and shame them for their own benefit, and then you interfere into their normal sexual and social development, Oh, if you want to sleep around and if you don't want to get married, you're a worthless whore, and I had something for you on my will, I'm kicking you out of my house and I'm disowning your ass. Or if you go talk to those thugs and those bad boys or those Park 8 hoodlums or whatever, then you're worthless and you're messing up my family name. That's how you make a slave nowadays. But it has a little more sinister side to it. The reason why you have a lot of these mass shootings nowadays. Who are a majority of the people in the USA who commit these mass shootings? Or who just shoot people and kill people and get away with it? The police. Sexually frustrated white boys. Now, I'll give you some examples, and you can just look them up online. You had George Sedini back in 2009. He went inside of an LA Fitness gym somewhere over in a Pittsburgh suburb, a suburb in Philly or Pittsburgh or something. And he had a YouTube channel saying that he didn't have sex for like 15 years. He went inside of LA Fitness gym and he just snapped. Elliot Rogers. I don't think he needs no synopsis. I think most of y'all know who this kid is. And, you know, I come to this conclusion just like Alan Roger Curry did. You could tell he was a Captain Save-A-Hole, romantic, white knight, beta male. And he thought that it was going to do something, and it didn't. Elliot Rogers was mentally off. But I think he was smart enough to know in the back of his mind that, hey, you know what? And Alan Roger Curry said the same thing last week in a podcast video he did here on YouTube. He said, look, this kid found out when he was 19, 20, 21 that he was not alpha. He was going to be beta. And he was going to spend most of his life being a sexless beta male. And this kid hated the fact that he was half Asian. Like they say, I mean, no offense to the Asian community, but in the sexual marketplace, Asian men are at the bottom, whereas white men and black men are at the top. He couldn't live with that. Same thing with Dylan Roof. Dylan Roof and Elliot Rodger, they both hated the fact that a lot of the white women who they were sexually attracted to, they was fucking niggas. Or getting fucked by niggas. And they didn't like that. Same thing with the Oregon shooter, the Virginia Tech shooter back in 07, an Asian guy. He had sexual problems. There was some guy, I forget his name, and he took a bus from Maryland to New York, and he was killing black men, homeless black men, picking up bottles. There's a guy, I think he's on YouTube, and he has his own blog. His name is Sean James, and he mentioned him. He said, look, that white guy wasn't gonna go up into no Brooklyn, no Queens trying to kill no niggas, because he know what would have happened to him. So he picked on vulnerable homeless black guys picking up bottles. He had a sexual inferiority complex. Same thing again with the Virginia Tech shooter, Oregon shooter, Dylan Roof, Elliot Rogers, George Sedini. And while I should make a different video about this, a different spoken word about this situation, of course you got the war on drugs. Of course you got a lot of people who are stupid enough to believe that the war on drugs is supposed to be some type of moral issue or holy crusade. But let's call the war on drugs in the USA what it really is. White sexual insecurity. There's a lawmaker named Harry J. Anslinger, look him up. He's the one who said that marijuana, weed, makes white women listen to blues or jazz or R&B and fornicate with Negroes. He's the one who said that. In the early 20th century, like let's say in the 1920s, 30s, 40s, a lot of white lawmakers said, okay, well, cocaine makes niggers rape white women and rebel against white authority, whereas opium makes Chinese men seduce white women. So let's summarize. Niggers rape, Chinese seduce, and they all do it with drugs, by drugging women up or by selling drugs. Well, women, by their own admission, they trade sex for drugs or money or fame or attention and that kind of thing, by their own admission. But of course, these white lawmakers, they don't want men of other races sleeping around with their women, and their biggest fear is losing their women to other races of men, and that fear has basically come true. And that's the reason behind a lot of these mass shootings, because you have a lot of beta males who can't get none, and there's this 80-20 rule, and I'm just going to be nice and do 75-25 instead. 25% of men are alpha, 75% of men are beta. And therein lies hypergamy. which does make things complicated for most men because most men ain't getting none. But that's the reason behind a lot of these mass shootings. And throughout history, there's been a lot of sperm wars, dick wars, men fighting over who has the biggest D size and which group of women is going to fertilize their kids and which group of women are going to be more orgasmic towards which group of men, or which group of men is going to make them achieve the highest orgasm. And the fact that you have women who are by their own admission insatiable, well, that requires another topic, and I'll get into that some other time. You don't hear a lot of black people engaging in mass shootings like that. And see, conservatives, they love to talk about black on black crime every time a nigga get killed by the cops, and then we demand accountability on behalf of the police. Here comes Sheriff David Clark or some idiot on Fox News. Oh, what about black on black crime? And that's just an excuse. That's just a slick way of saying, well, if you niggas are gonna kill yourselves and kill each other, we might as well do it too. But the truth of the matter is that you don't have a lot of mass shootings in the black community. You don't hear about black men engaging in a lot of mass shootings, with the exception of 2016, and it was a very bad week in black America. Day after 4th of July 2016, Alton Sterling got killed by some cops over in Louisiana. Not too long after that, like a day afterwards, or maybe the same day, you had Philando Castile, who got killed by a cop. And he's in the car with his girlfriend and her daughter. So people snapped. They was like, okay, you know what? There was some guy who went over to Dallas, Texas, black guy. He went to the he was in the military. So he had some, he was seasoned and he knew how to operate some weapons. This guy went over to Dallas, Texas, and he killed like, I think 12 or 15 cops. Which I'm not going to sympathize with these cops. I mean, I don't wish bad on anyone, but you know what? What goes around comes around. It's karma, but it's not enough, though. All right? I know some people going to want to try to come after me for saying that, but you know what? So be it. We know who's really inferior, and we know who's not. But there was no noise made about this black guy who went over to Dallas and killed these damn cops. Nobody said, oh, he had post-traumatic stress disorder. Even though a lot of people who do serve in the military, just like some people who go to school or go to work and then they take a lot of abuse from people, and then they do have post-traumatic stress disorder, but nobody's talking about that. Nobody said, oh, okay, made excuses for this black guy saying, oh, he had a mental illness and that's what made him snap. What happened? People said, oh, well, Sheriff David Clark gets on CNN with Don Lemon saying, oh, these Black Lives Matter people, they preach the name of hate and blah, blah, blah. But of course, the black guy who killed all those cops in Dallas, Texas, okay, where is he now? He's dead and gone. But a lot of these mass shooters, white ones, some of them are still alive if they have not taken themselves out. You know what else is funny though? When black people riot and loot, it's over injustice, systematic injustice. Whites want to riot and loot and engage in mass shootings, it's over stupid shit, like a hockey game. Or because they can't get no pussy, they can't find no woman to love them and give them no ass. And it's only going to get worse. Just this month, there was a big riot over in Philly because the Eagles won the Super Bowl. No big deal. No National Guards was called. No threats about martial law or anything of that nature. None of that. All right. And you got stupid bastards like some of the guys who you listen to, Obsidian. Every time black people riot over injustice, he calls them park apes. But where was this outrage when this shit happened during the Super Bowl, when all these suburbanite white kids just tear shit up, fucking up lampposts and flipping over people's cars? And this guy on YouTube named Angry Man called him out on that shit. He called him out on it. Okay, so you're calling other blacks park apes because they're rioting and looting over injustice, something that's serious, but you don't make not one sound when people riot and loot over a stupid fucking hockey game or who won the Super Bowl, or, you know. And the fact that you had Obsidian, piece of shit, I don't understand how he gets so many subscribers. A lot of people are just either brainwashed listening to him, or a majority of his followers are a bunch of 30-year-old, 40-year-old virgins and bitch-ass drag queens and trannies. Black trannies, whatever. So you're gonna sit up and and this is another thing. Obsidian made videos attacking Philando Castile and Alton Sterling. Oh, Trayvon Martin did it himself. Tamir Rice did it to himself. Michael Brown did it to themselves. Never mind about the fact that these guys did have fathers and stepfathers in their lives. But Obsidian is going to sit up and come to the defense of a piece of shit like Elliot Rodgers. And this is why this is one of the reasons why Alan Roger Curry cut ties with his ass. I'm thinking about, damn, Alan Roger Curry, you fucking with Obsidian? It's not often that I came on YouTube. Every once in a while I would come and check and see what people are talking about. The only reason why I heard of Obsidian Ali was because of Alan Roger Curry. And I'm thinking to myself, okay, why is this dude hanging with this dude? I guess it must have been for a business prospect. Then Alan Roger Curry was like, you know what? I had to quit fucking with this dude because you're gonna come to the defense of a person like Elliot Rodgers and say that, oh, he's entitled to his preferences. You throw your own people under the bus and you're going to sit up in here and defend a person like that. And then you attack Corinne Gaines by calling her a trap queen baby mama. You attack black victims of police brutality, police violence. See, a person like him, Obsidian, whoever he is, I'm tired of even mentioning the damn name. His whole problem is that he can't get no fucking pussy. That's his whole problem. His whole problem. The reason why he's on YouTube making videos, it's not because he's trying to help people. It's because he can't get no ass. And Thugtician warned us about guys like him years ago. And I know I said that you don't hear about black mass murders like that. But if it hadn't been for the manosphere and YouTube, I strongly believe that even Obsidian would have ended up being a black Elliot Rodger. And he still might. Don't be surprised. And don't say that I didn't warn you in case he does. Because like Feminista Jones said, he's perpetually a black man who's crippled and who has been perpetually rejected by black women all his life. But that's what this whole thing is all about. This is the reason why you do have a lot of mass shootings out here. Is because of men in their sexual insecurity complex. Because alpha males, I don't care if they're thugs, even if they are thugs who carry guns, they might not engage in no mass shootings. If they kill a rival gang member, it's over some dope shit or some money type shit. They're not going to go around, and they might kill a person over a woman if someone beat the woman down. I know an old friend of mine. He's currently, he got killed like 14, 15 years ago. And he was a straight up street dude. He got with this woman and he beat her ass to a pulp and her brother snapped and blew his brains out. So if you hear about a guy killing over a woman, more often than not it's because somebody attacked or abused that woman. I'm not saying that black men don't fight over ass and pussy, because they do, but not like this. Not to where they're going around killing 10, 20, 30 damn people. Not to where they have to go around and act like and get a job being a police officer just so that they can get away with killing people. And then people will justify it. Like, regardless of how disrespectful or how disgusting an act is, as long as it's done by a white person wearing a stupid snappy uniform, oh, he's just doing his job. But if a black person does it to fight for his family, or he robs a store, or he's going inside of a Foot Locker stealing some Jordans during a riot so that he can take them and flip them, oh, he's the scum of the earth. Lock him up. Stephen A. Smith get on TV, oh, our ancestors would be ashamed. Shucking and jiving, cooning for brownie points for Whitey. All right. So I'm not sitting up here saying none of this to say that, brothers don't go around shooting somebody else over pussy. But it's always been like this. And white men and Muslims are notoriously known for killing each other off. And a lot of people, even to this day, this generation, they think that it's normal or it's the chivalrous thing to do to fight and kill over some pussy. You go right ahead and do that, and I guarantee you, while your ass is rotting in prison, she gonna be hopping the fence, riding somebody else's dick. That's just the way life goes. So yeah, and this is also a reason why you have a lot of cops who just snap every time they see a brother in the car with a white girl. They assume that she's a whore or he's a drug dealer, and they're big. And I wrote an article about Roman holidays. What is a Roman holiday? It's basically like a concept where you had, Romans, I think during the Roman Empire, something like that. They like to get off on watching people suffer and things of that nature. And a lot of these cops who go around killing unarmed black men, it's like a Roman holiday to them. And yes, sex plays a huge part of it, plus the fear of black masculinity. And pornography also plays into that fear of black masculinity. Big, tall, 6 foot, 7 foot Lexington Steel looking niggas banging these girls all in their ass and stretching them out like caramello and stretching them out like what, caramel from a Snickers bar or whatever. And now that women have more control over their lives, you get to go out here and you see what's up. Not just here in the USA, but even some third world countries. Once you travel overseas, if a woman likes you, she'll give it up. You go to a bar, a nightclub, and if she really likes you, an hour and a half, 2 hours later, she lets you hit it. And it also destroys that myth about, women are angels and all that Donovan Sharp bullshit. Women have no business sleeping around. Women are not mentally or physically built to go around and have sex like men. All that slut shaming shit that Donovan Sharp gets into. You can listen to that garbage all you want to, and that's just another way of trying to raise the price of pussy through artificial means. And when you do that, and when you put women on pedestal, and then you put sex on pedestals like here in the USA, don't be surprised when people use it to try to control your life and destroy you with it. And that's what's happening with a lot of beta males. And it's only going to get worse. And you're going to have an epidemic where you're going to have a lot more young men and even some black men, like these beta black guys on YouTube. If it hadn't been for YouTube, a lot of these guys would end up snapping. 2009 Easter, there was this young black guy, he was a YouTuber named Anthony Powell. This happened Detroit, Michigan. He fell in love with a black girl named Asia McGowan, and she wasn't feeling him, and he made videos about how he hates black women being promiscuous. He went to this girl's college where she was at. He took a sawed-off or a shotgun, blew her brains out, put it in his mouth on some Full Metal Jacket type shit, and blew his own brains out. So don't think that it may not happen eventually with some beta black males, because a lot of guys are going to wake up and realize, what am I going to work for? What am I going to college for if I can't get what I want? If I cannot get what's promised to me, and if I can't get what I really, really want, then some guys are going to have to turn celibate. They're going to turn gay. They're going to be turned into chronic masturbators, sitting at home beating off the tranny porn or whatever. Or they're going to end up being like some black Elliot Rodgers. But of course you're going to sit up and have some feminists sit up and say, well, don't blame mental illness, blame toxic masculinity. I'm 50-50 on that. I don't get into the toxic masculinity rhetoric, because masculinity has always been toxic in America in regards to the black man. All right. But now the tables are turning. And a lot of the guys who have been hit with a lot of sexual harassment charges are rich, prestigious white men and white guys in corporate America. And to tell you the truth, a lot of this shit is deserved. And it's only going to get worse. But this is the reason why you have a majority of the mass shootings that happened recently is because of sexually frustrated beta male white boys. Some of these guys had mental illnesses, some of them didn't. Which, of course, the media is going to try to twist it and use the mental illness fallacy to try to get sympathy. But nobody does that for our black asses. They don't care if a black man was mentally ill or anything of that nature. They just, okay, you know what? You want to disobey the law and you're a thug and you're hypermasculine, just blow this nigga away. White kids go around killing people. Okay, cops take them and treat them to Burger King without a scratch on their body. And then they make excuses for saying, oh, he had a mental illness, or mental illnesses that we never even heard of. Or affluenza. I've never heard of no garbage like that. I didn't know that having an entitlement complex was a fucking mental illness. But then some people also snap after years and years of being shitted on by society and society's institutions and authority figures. And to tell you the truth, if anybody, and the shit that black people have gone through in America, women too, you would think that they would be the ones who go out here and commit all these mass shootings. And I think it was Patrice O'Neal said something similar. I'm not sure. I heard it from somewhere, word of mouth. I'm not 100% sure. But I think it was Patrice O'Neal, a comedian, may he rest in peace. He said something along those lines. You think that all of the shit that black people and Indians have gone through in America, you would think they would be the ones who would have blew up the Twin Towers and who was responsible for 9/11. You would think that they would have been the ones who did some, who would have done some stuff like that and who snapped. And probably rightfully so. And I don't have a problem with feminism 2.0 and women's sexual choices and who they choose. If a person don't want to choose you, don't want to choose you. Relationships is an honor. It's a privilege. It's not a right. And nobody does not owe anybody anything. The conservatives have said this to black people for a very long time. Nobody owes you anything. And they like to say that to a group of people who they shit on. They shit on you and they disrespect you and then they deny you something, turn around and tell you nobody owes you anything, pull yourself up by the bootstraps. But now you got a lot of these liberal feminists who are saying the same thing, not to black people, but to a lot of men, beta males who they do not like. And they'll tell you, well, society does not owe women sex. I'm sorry, society does not owe men sex, which is true. And people said this about Elliot Rodgers, which is true. But that goes for anybody. Nobody owes anybody anything. While it's technically true that society does not owe you anything, it's also technically true that you don't have to take no shit off of them and that you don't have to play by their rules. And if anybody really should know that better than anybody else, is black people. I mean, because a lot of women are starting to understand that. Which is why they're embracing feminine power and feminine empowerment, female empowerment. But niggas are dumb. Niggas just go along to get along. They scared to rock the boat. Anyway, that's my topic. And I'll holler at you guys in a minute.